Discuss this now with Robert Parry. He's an investigative journalist with the Consortium News website. He's joining me now from Virginia. So both Iran and the agency inspectors, they seem pretty optimistic with the latest nuclear watchdog mission. Could we hope for some kind of resolution now?
Well, possibly. I think the Iranians have long said that they are not building a nuclear weapon. So there was always the basis for some kind of agreement if people came to believe that they were not building a nuclear weapon. And one of the interesting developments we've seen over the past few weeks is that there's been almost a consensus, not just in the United States and the intelligence community, but even to some degree in Israel, that the Iranians have not made the decision to move ahead to build a nuclear weapon. Obviously, there's belief that they are developing expertise that can be used in the future for such a decision if they were to make one. But there has been this interesting coming together of views, both from Defense Secretary Panetta and Defense Minister Barak in Israel, to suggest that that decision has not been made. So if Iran is sincere about its lack of interest in a nuclear weapon, and if the West is willing to show some more flexibility in terms of how they're willing to negotiate on this, yes, I think there could be some resolution.
And yet, at the same time, US intelligence is being, somewhat alarmist at the moment by saying, in fact, making out Iran as a serious terror threat at the moment, saying that the US is now warning that Tehran could launch terror attacks against it if it actually feels threatened by the US. I mean, why that tack now, then?
Well, I think that's been a bit overplayed. It was mentioned in testimony yesterday by U.S. intelligence officials before Congress. However, the reference was really to this very dubious set of allegations about an alleged Iranian plan to kill the Saudi ambassador in Washington, which was initially pretty much rejected by the U.S. intelligence community. But there was some pressure to sort of give it some more credence, and there were charges brought. But many people have grave doubts that that's real. But the point, if you read very carefully what the Director of National Intelligence Clapper said yesterday, he was indicating that if the Iranians come to believe there's a real threat, that the United States really engages in attacks inside Iran, they might retaliate. But that really isn't that unusual, since pretty much any country, if it's attacked, will look for ways to retaliate.
Robert, just despite the apparent easing intentions over the nuclear question, do you think that, as many analysts are saying, that the US and the West will find some other excuse to try and get some sort of regime change in Iran?
Well, clearly the Israelis want that, and they have a great deal of influence with Europe and with the United States in terms of keeping the pressure going. So I think, yes, there may be other ways just to try to keep the sanctions being ratcheted up, maybe to bring about some hope for either regime change or at least weakening Iran substantially in terms of the role it can play in the world. But I think that is not as clear that will play out as it might have been even a month or two ago. I think President Obama and Defense Secretary Panetta have not been on the side of really pushing those buttons. They'd rather have this situation calm down rather than accelerated. But there are political forces in the United States that are quite powerful, including on the Republican side in the terms of the presidential race, that wants to ratchet up the pressure.
Robert Parry, great to hear your thoughts. Investigative journalist with Consortium News, the website there, speaking to us from Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you.
The world's top